David Fine Media, taking the spoken word to the next level.
It's the show made by custom fans for custom fans. Every show, a special guest joins the guys to talk about customs, wrestling, memories, and more. And now, the starting lineup for the Bad Boys of Podcast. Introducing, from Sydney, Australia, standing 6 feet tall, weighing in at 220 pounds, he is the Plan, Sash Man. Next, from parts unknown, his weight is at $1.98 a pound, the big Storian himself, Brother Brutus Valentine. And now, hailing from Music City, weighing in at none of your damn business, the man of 1,000 voices, the apprentice, talking Tyler Peters. And rounding out this fearsome foursome, the leader, the Pod Daddy, the ruler of Lady Droolers. Give it up, give it up, give it up for Mr. David So Fine. That's Tyler, Brutus, David, and Sash, the Figure Guys Podcast. Oh yeah!
Welcome into another exciting edition of the Figure Guys Podcast. As always, as the great introduction that was produced, edited, and voiced by the great Smash Ventura Productions, Smash Ventura. I am the Pod Daddy, David Fine. The man to my right, he is talking Tyler Peters. I don't think you're the apprentice anymore. I've taken that title away. You are our consummate journalist. I mean, our true professional. I mean, none of us else on the show ever stay professional. We always say something goofy and like figurines or, the precious moments. But, you take it in stride, Tyler Peters. And, of course, the man below me, he is the fixtorian. He is the smartest man in the room, the great Brutus. And he is a researcher. Man, folks, I've been getting a lot of questions online asking me, David, do you ever cover anything else besides LJNs? And I said, yes, up till now, up till this episode, up to episode number 25. No, we have not covered anything but LJNs. But tonight, folks, we are getting off the information superhighway. We are getting off at the exit that does not include LJN. That brings me to our very special guest. He is the man who is the creator and the purveyor of Mid-Atlantic Customs, the great Matthew Simmons. Matt, man, welcome to the program, and thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule here on this Monday night. And just wanted to say that, of course, Sash Man is not here, but I spoke with him earlier. It is raining cats and dogs literally in Sydney, Australia. And with everything going on in lockdown, he has been put out the man shed. And so he said he's going to pass on tonight, because they're still in lockdown. Are you still in lockdown, Brutus, where you live?
Of course, yeah. And we passed our 200-day milestone last week. So since late March last year, Melbourne has been locked down over 200 days.
Wow.
So, not consecutively. Yeah.
That's insane.
I mean, guys on this side of the pond. I mean, if they did that in the United States, there would just be like anarchy. I know Australia is a lot smaller country, and land than the United States. There isn't. I mean, this is not a political podcast, but if that happened, but if that had happened, folks, we would not have had some great wrestling comebacks. It's nothing to do with our show tonight, but if folks, if the United States was in lockdown, like Australia is right now, we would have not had the return of CM Punk. We would have not had SummerSlam. where they technically screwed over Bianca Belair, but we'll go into that later on in another podcast. But God, Matthew, I mean, your customs, Mid Atlantic Customs, they are probably the best non-LJN. I mean, hell, they're even better than some of the LJNs that I've seen. The scenes that you've put together, they recreate some scenes from my childhood that I saw on television.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I mean, can you just tell us how you got into it? I mean, I would assume, this is me assuming, what happens when you assume. I would assume you were a fan of like the Mid-Atlantic and the old Jim Crockett promotions when you were growing up.
Oh yeah. Huge. My first recollection of even seeing anything remotely pro wrestling was at my neighbor's house, who had cable TV. We didn't have cable, so I was over there watching. It was Georgia Championship Wrestling, Gordon Soley, and it was Tommy Rich and Buzz Sawyer was the beginning of their feud. And something about it, I was hooked. The way they were just talking to each other and everything in the ring, I never seen nothing like it. It was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to bring up some of the images that you sent me. I mean, they're amazing. I mean, this one right here. I mean, we have, of course, the Russian. Well, let me go back. The Russians. I mean, they're beating up. They are
Road Warriors.
The first one, the Road Warriors. I mean, tell us. I mean, how does one person create this amazing? I mean, the detail that you put into your figures, and to just the things surrounding it. I mean, there are a lot of people that just create the figures, but you go into so much good detail. I mean, like Brutus is probably going to ask. I mean, did you have did you do a lot of art maybe in like college or high school? I mean, was that in your past, or is it just something?
Yes. Yeah. I've been drawing, painting ever since I was a little kid. Sculpting clay, like watercolors, acrylic paints, like anything. I've always been really, really into that, so I was a big model. I was a model kit builder when I was a younger kid, like junior high.
Well,
I did a lot of,
I mean, this detail of Road Warriors. I mean, Tyler. I mean, you snack on danger and you dine on death, and dead men don't.
I do have to say the Road Warriors here. Those are just straight Mattels. I didn't do any customizing to those, but a lot of the lesser like figures that you can't get, like we'll never get a Manny Fernandez figure. It's just not going to happen. We're probably never going to get a Tommy Rich or the Russians.
I mean, who wouldn't want a Tommy Wildfire Rich figure? I mean, I can't believe he wasn't in LJ yet, Brutus.
I would, yeah. I mean, hey, Tommy Rich is awesome. I'd still love to see him. Yeah.
I remember a one time I was working a show with Tommy Rich. We were in the locker room. No, it's not going that direction, guys. We were in the locker room talking, and he was talking to his son, and his son said, "Dad, are we facing Abdullah the Butcher tonight?" And he goes, "No, son, that's in the Omni tomorrow night." I was like,
wow.
I was like, holy shit. I am in the same dressing room with Tommy Wildfire Rich, and he's talking about wrestling Abdullah the Butcher in probably a steel cage at the Omni next week. I mean, Tommy Wildfire Rich, Tyler, he was, yes, a one-time NWA champion. And he was, but this detail, it's this whole thing is just amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the hair, that's what I was going to say. Just everything, Black Bart, James J. Dillon, and Tommy Young, one of the greatest officials ever. I mean, I think Flair, we've heard on podcasts, would choose him, where he would always do the main events. So it's awesome. Yeah. And Brutus, I know, what do you think of these creations? They're amazing. Like we're talking about the detail. I'd love to get your opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed about it, you see a lot on Instagram, and Matthew, you run a lot of these through your Instagram page, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And there's different styles of photography, and what a lot of it seems to be is they take like a producer view, so that they show you the whole shot like you're watching a TV screen. To me, yours are like you're a fan, like you're sitting down ringside, you look up, you're only seeing this angle, you're getting that angle. It's like you're actually putting the viewer right back there when it was, instead of this stylized staged overview. And and I reckon it's like quick cuts, because you look here and then you turn your head and you're going to see something else going on, like Vader coming out. And the lighting is fantastic too, let alone the staging. But it's like I'm ringside watching this one, jumping up, maybe going to take a photograph or something at that time.
Right. Yeah, it's important for me to get that kind of perspective on it, and I get a lot of that just from other guys, other photographers that are doing this stuff. Like I've got a lot of pages that I follow that I'll just go through and like, oh, I like what they did there. I like this aspect. I like how they did the lighting there. So it's always constantly trying to evolve and do something different.
Yep. The detail. I mean, it's got the Road Warriors putting Uncle Ivan in a gorilla press. I mean, it's just.
Yep.
It's just the staging. I mean, the staging alone, and just taking. It's. Folks. I mean, I guess he has some great. Skills. Photography. Setting up stuff. I mean, it's not just what. It's just not just making the figure, making the setup. It's also taking the picture. I mean, it's just amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's also a lot of us who collect, the figures never get played with. They don't get touched. Yeah. And these are actually doing what they were designed to do, except take it one step further. So it's really great to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
I guess it's kind of the adult version of playing with your toys, I guess.
That's right, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, of course, by doing it this way, yes, that's only what adults would do. Kids wouldn't do it at all.
Exactly.
The detail. I mean, like the NWA band. We know how you create the figure. I mean, where do you go to find? I mean, is all the stuff that you see in the scenes, is it made by you? I mean, is it something that you just searched the world over and found?
Some of it, yeah. Like the figures. Like, well, I'll print out like decals for like the little hammer and sickle insignias, and use like a paint application with that. The referee shirt, I think I found out on eBay, and I made the NWA referees patch for it. Little iron-on patch he's got on his front lapel.
I can see that.
So that was like, it's always like little details like that, I think, that are going to really kind of suck you into these photos. Just those little tiny details that I try to capture.
I like the staging of the Russians' faces, because they know they're cheating and they're checking back to see looking. And
true.
They're being really cheeky. It's like whatever how it used to be behind the ref's back. One look.
Exactly.
Doing the dirty. Who are the three Russians in that? Like, I'll have a go. I could be wrong. So you got Ivan Koloff, right?
Yes.
Is it Nikita Koloff?
Yes.
And what? Crusher Koloff?
Yep. No, Khrushchev.
Crusher Khrushchev.
So, Brutus was in Demolition. Yeah.
Okay. How about that?
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you're making some figures of people that may not have a figure like a Tommy Rich, or, I never saw an Ivan Koloff or a Khrushchev or even a nephew Nikita. I mean, the man who changed his name to Nikita Koloff because he really wanted to stay in gimmick. Which, that's really that's marrying your gimmick. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah. I've got to meet him several times. He's really cool. I might have
to try that and change my name to Greg Beefcake or something.
Do it. Yes, absolutely. It's the next big thing, and we're not talking Brock Lesnar. We're talking Bruce Valentine. Go for it.
I mean, Greg Beefcake. I mean, that has a great
ring to it.
It does. Very catchy. Yeah. Is this Bob Cottle interviewing Black Bart, or do I have that? No, that's Cornette, ain't it?
No, that's Bob Cottle. Yeah, that's
Bob Cottle. My bad. Okay, I was thinking Cottle, but it kind of from a distance.
And
I can see that.
Well, before we get back to the photos, we have a question of one of our biggest fans in the world, Ash Man, who's in the Man Shed. I think He said, "How do you get the photos of the wrestlers in midair?"
You use a fishing line to
Interesting.
suspend them. Yeah.
I mean, hey, folks,
and then in your photo app, you can go through and use the eraser tool, and you can skim your right over that line, and it'll take it right out of the picture.
Oh, okay. Some inside secrets.
Yeah.
I mean, folks, we get people in here. They give the insider secrets. I mean, it's one of those things that, I mean, and people that we've spoken with, the customizers and the collectors, it's about the fun, having fun. I mean, it's about reliving their childhood. I mean, most of these guys that we've had on, collect the LJNs, and they keep them and they keep them in their box. I mean, what are your thoughts on keeping your figures? I mean, I know some of the ones that you buy, that like Mattel's or whatever. I mean, are you a keep in the box figure guy, like on other figures that you don't take pictures of, or are you a taking them out and posing them?
I like to, as they say, let them breathe. I like to open them up and let them, do what they're supposed to do. Pose them and take cool pictures with them, whatever you want to do with them.
It's one of those things. It's like the one wrestler that I always refer to, that the only one I have anymore, is Macho Man Randy Savage. And he doesn't really figure. He doesn't bend that much. I mean, these figures, I mean, I like the movable parts. Don't you, Tyler?
I do too. And what I was going to say to Brutus's credit, Brutus, I mean, this is a great scene where the chain is being used. You talked about the distraction with the referee. Exactly. And one question I was going to ask Matthew on this topic, with these different scenes and segments and stipulation of matches like the War Games that I think I saw on one of your social media pages, is there more of a popular or higher demand for those kind of presentations? I mean, do you find those are your best sellers, or maybe?
I think I do get a lot of likes off of stuff like that, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're awesome. I mean, like you guys are saying, the presentation, the feel of them. I mean, the recreation. I think it separates, with all due respect to all the customizers and creators, they do some great work, but this really separates. I mean, what you're doing. Yeah,
it's I think kind of combining the two things, I guess, the two hobbies into one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the one good thing about anything other than LJN, which I mean, I'll always be an LJN man. I love LJNs. That's what I collected. But other types of, figures, that, especially these, I mean, LJNs, you can't really make scenes. You couldn't do anything like this. I mean, it's just
right. Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing.
I remember for Christmas, the one year I got the first line of LJNs. Sitting under the Christmas tree. I got them, played with them. I got the ring too. I played with those quite a bit, but then I remember going to the local mall and I found the AWA Remco figures on the pegs.
Yep.
And they had the Road Warriors tag team, and I got the Flair and Zbyszko 2-pack, I think it was.
Doesn't get much better.
Or maybe it was Flair and Martel. Whichever it was, but I was hooked on those things from that day forward. Like I couldn't get enough of them just because of the posability.
Now you guys can help me. Wasn't it Flair Martel that competed? It was the NWA champion versus the AW champion at one time.
Okay, that's Martel and Baron von Raschke.
And Baron von Raschke.
Yeah,
nice.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's cool.
I was wondering where Brutus was going, but he, of course, he has everything. I mean,
Impact, of course.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey, let it breathe. Let them breathe. they're probably losing oxygen, being in that they need to breathe. But but these details are just amazing. The next one we have. Macho Man.
Yeah, that was in the backyard.
This one is probably my favorite one that you said. I mean, it's the Dusty Rhodes getting beat up by the Four Horsemen. I don't think they may not have been the Four Horsemen back then, but if you remember on TBS on the Superstation, 605, I think that back then, and I mean they showed them following them to, I think it was probably the studio to tape. They beat them up, and this is the recreation of this event. I mean, which went down in history and as a great angle with Dusty and the Horsemen.
Oh yeah, it was incredible. They actually followed him. They followed Dusty to the offices of Jim Crockett Promotions on Briar Bend Drive in Charlotte, North Carolina. But yeah, you're right. It was groundbreaking at the time. Like, I watching wrestling, I never seen nothing that took place outside of the arena like that. That was like, you never seen anything like that before. It was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, Tyler, I mean, you were commenting on this earlier offline. I mean, the detail of this.
Oh yeah, I mean, Dusty's arm up, and then it's I think is that Arn, with the bat.
Arn, yeah,
and I mean, it's awesome. It's Horseman style. I mean, that's how they got Dusty back. I mean, it was a great feud. It almost makes me want to go. If you will, please don't hurt my arm, baby doll. Let me tell you something. I got Magnum TA. High times.
Hot times, baby.
Sorry, I can't help it, man. I'm no Bruce Pritchard, but I tried. Man, that's.
I mean, you're the man of 1,000 voices. Remember that. That's what
I couldn't help myself, man. Dusty, like we talked about off air, guys. Jimmy Valiant, those guys, the promos, and hey, James J. Dillon, was he not smooth? I mean, you forgot just with Tully that package. The whole turn, the baby doll going with Dusty. That's what I love. I don't know about you guys. I miss storylines, whether it's WWF then or Jim Crockett. There was some good storytelling back then.
Great storytelling.
I mean, it was the storytelling back then. And I mean, I'll get Brutus in your opinion. I mean, they definitely could not get away with most of the shenanigans that they did back in the 80s. I mean, with everything that's going on. But I mean, but it makes for some great action. And of course, we have here the Road Warriors again with I think that's the Freebirds.
Yeah, the Freebirds
from Bad Street, USA, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. I mean,
that's right.
This is another one of my favorites. I mean, this is from Arcade '83, the dog collar match.
I had been dying to recreate this one, and I finally pulled the trigger and got the dog collar set up for it, and I had to boil the heads and pop them off, put the collars on.
Wow.
And I had to make the scene. I recreate it. That was fun.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, to make the dog collar, I mean, what did you have to combine to make that? I mean, did they have some that sold the dog collar that you just bought it, or is it something that you had to like piece?
Yeah, there's a company called Boss Fight Studios. They sell they've got their own line of luchador figures, and they do like a little accessory pack, and that was one of the pieces in it was a dog collar. You got like a nightstick, a cinder block, and a folding chair or something. I was like, $20, it's worth a dog collar to me just for that picture. It's a no-brainer.
The standard objects that any knockabout wrestler would need to use in a gruesome match. Look, this is fun. We all knew about this down here. Not in '83, of course, but I had a book, Wrestling's Greatest Heroes and Villains, and I have that book. Yep. Yeah, this was the big shot in that, and that sold squillions down here because we got the full glimpse of it. So yeah. It's great seeing what you've got there. I'm just looking at all the decals and everything as well too. So I was going to ask a stupid question. Matthew, do you actually enjoy doing these?
I do. Yeah, I do. I get it's not something I do every day. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a hobby for me. If I get a hair up my ass and I want to recreate that Winnebago scene with Dusty, I'll set it up. I'll set it up on the kitchen countertop and bring my lights out, and it's like a little photo studio. My wife's buzzing around the kitchen looking at me.
You're giving me a big idea here, and I don't need more ideas because I don't have enough time to prosecute the ideas. For people watching, I'm looking behind because I've got them on the screen blown up big, but gee, I could create the narratives around these stories and use your scenes to actually create a history of some of these greatest matches. That would be
that would be cool
to do. Yeah,
that's a great idea, Bruce. Yeah. And this match is great. Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for me. Yep.
No, go ahead.
No.
Yeah, I know. In Bad Street, USA. But going back to the Piper Valentine match, it was so brutal. I went back on the network before it went to Peacock. That was, man, Brutus, did you actually get to watch the match between Piper and Valentine?
I've never seen it. I should have a look.
You need to go look at it.
Oh my
for
God!
Sure.
Go out of your way to see it.
Yeah,
That's in my top 5 all-time favorite matches.
I mean, because unlike the United States, Australia still gets the network. So, they have, it's like, I mean, I don't know about everybody's opinion about the Peacock network, but I
haven't signed up for it yet.
I mean, good thing is it's only like $7 a month for the Peacock network and the network. So, I mean, if you don't watch anything, it's $7, but it's, I mean, I mean, Tyler, they've added a lot more stuff, and I mean, they do have Starrcade 83 up there, and this match, I mean, good. I'm glad that you didn't do this in like gruesome detail, because that match from 1983, the dog collar match, they made that ring so red.
Oh my God!
I mean, back in the day, I mean, the match, the event would start out. The mat would be blue, or off blue. By the end of the night, it was red. I mean, you would never see that nowadays.
And now if you get a drop of blood on the canvas, they tear it off, and during commercial break,
I mean,
they put a brand new one on it.
I mean, it's funny whenever you like go to a live event, and I don't know if y'all have seen it at a live event. I mean, they, like you said, they'll take off the mat between everything. It's like, okay, we'll switch it out. I mean, like, good Lord, how many matches do they have under there? It's like, I guess they could just, reuse mats or just buy mats. I mean, because,
that's crazy.
But I mean, the Freebirds, I mean, Michael Hayes, Terry Bam Bam Gordy, I mean, and then Buddy Roberts here in the back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such good detail. I mean, were you a fan of the Fabulous Freebirds back in the day?
Yeah, I was huge into them.
Were you singing the theme song too? I mean, come on,
of course.
That theme song was great. Yeah.
It's still a great song.
Some people would. I tell people that Michael Hayes is the greatest or the Freebirds are the greatest rock and roll band of all time. I don't know why, because they weren't really in a band, but
they weren't.
But I mean, were you more of a Freebirds like Mid Atlantic, or like or later on in their career?
I would probably have to say,
or World Class.
World Class is probably where I first seen them. I was huge in the Missing Link, and the Moondogs. I like the Moondogs. I like the kind of cool. Yes, I was into the cool, like gimmicky kind of wrestlers, but the Freebirds were awesome. I just like their them and the Road Warriors. Were always going at it.
I mean, and you sent me this picture, and I had to just put it in there. It's like, I mean, it's just like a recreation of the old World Championship Wrestling, whenever they had Super Towns on the Superstation, or the Saturday Night Show. I mean, it's just like, let's face it, the best is right here, Mid Atlantic Customs. I mean, it's just that. I mean, that is amazing. I mean, who put this together? Was it you that did it, or was someone else?
I did it, and I don't even really remember doing it, to be honest with you, but. When you showed it to me, I seen it was on my page. I was like, "Oh crap! I even did that one."
I mean, you've done so much. It's like you do so much and you forget about it. But we had a Facebook user that said, "This is what collecting is about. Nice work."
Oh, so, cool. That's awesome.
Like I said before, I mean, it's probably some of the best photography customs that I've seen. I mean, there's a lot of great people that do it out there, but I mean, when I stumbled upon your page, many moons ago, and I was like, I got to get this guy on the show, and I just kind of fell into that Instagram hole, and I just kept on scrolling on your Instagram page. I mean, folks, if you haven't gone to his Instagram page, it's Mid Atlantic Customs on Instagram. I mean, you could just be in there for hours and days. I mean, it's a great thing to look at work. I mean, it looks like you're doing something on the computer, but you're doing work, but you're actually having fun. But is there a wrestler that you would love to make into a figure that you haven't, or that someone has asked you to, but you haven't yet?
Dang, that's a good question. I wasn't expecting that one. Man, I think there's so many of them, honestly. A guy recently asked me to do an Austin Idol. I thought he would be a really cool, fun one to make, you know.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, he's a bit of a forgotten man, Austin Idol. Wasn't he in the plane crash with Gary Hart?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
But if you want to see him on current wrestling, he is on NWA Power.
NWA. Yeah,
and he has these cheesy commercials for his wrestling school, which I would assume it's an actual wrestling school. I mean,
his commercials are great.
I mean, if you have not seen any of these commercials, just go on the YouTube on NWA Power. I mean, they're just cheesiest. I mean, they're probably not low budget, but they're made to look low budget. But it's recreating the old school wrestling. I mean, it's amazing. And we had another quick question from Shad. Of course, he's a loyal watcher and viewer. How long does it take you to build the backdrops normally?
Well, the crowd photo backdrops are by a company called extremesets.com. You can get they sell arena backdrops for it. So what I did is I through my iPad, I created some flags and the National Wrestling Alliance logos, and I did some banners and stuff. And I printed those out at a local FedEx place, cut them out, and then I kind of used the poster tack stuff. I use that to kind of fix it to to my arena background for it, just to kind of I'm trying to get away from the arena look to it, and I want it to look more like an old gymnasium or, you know, something more old school than what I have.
More
you know,
cool for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you had. I mean, when I was talking to you a while back, I mean, I know you had said you got into this to sew. I guess not decal or like shirts and like other stuff.
Some T-shirts and stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, how was that going? And I mean, and did you ever think growing up or now going, you know what? As a grown adult, I'm going to be putting together wrestling figures, posing them in positions like they're wrestling and taking pictures and putting on the internet. I would have thought I would be having a podcast talking about wrestling figures. But we do. And I mean, now that you look back at it, did you ever think you would do this?
No, there's no way. No way. I mean, I've always been a toy collector. Yeah. So I've always I've still got my original Star Wars toys. Like, I've got some A-Team stuff, like a lot of 70s Mego era, you know, action figures, stuff like that. So collecting's always been in my blood. And what kind of set me off on this adventure is Ric Flair was coming to town right on my birthday. He was going to be in Rock Hill, South Carolina. So I was like, I need to get something for him to autograph. And I'm not really an 8x10 guy. I'm more of a toy collector, a toy guy. So I went on Amazon and I ordered a Ric Flair figure. And I took that and I got it signed by him with a silver Sharpie on the front. It's the defining moments. Ric Flair in the butterfly robe.
Oh yeah, that's legendary.
So that's the one I bought. And then I started thinking back to my Remco days, living at home and hanging out in the basement. And I built my own wrestling ring. I built my own steel cage. Like, I had a fig fed before I even knew what fig feds were. You know, the Road Warriors were winning the belts. Flair was winning the strap, you know, like, so it kind of got me nostalgia for that, you know? And, I started looking on eBay, as you do, as a toy collector. And I seen Jax had made a lot of the old school guys that I grew up watching. So I got the Freebirds, and I found the Midnight Express. I found Rock and Roll. Then I stumbled upon a customizer page on Facebook. And guys were using mud sculpting clay and doing stuff like that. I was like, I could do that. You know, I used to build model kits, and you know, I'm an artist at heart. You know, and so it just kind of started snowballing from there. And Instagram was the area where I saw the action figure photography. And I seen some like Dusty Rhodes, you know, full crimson mask with Magnum, you know, hanging out at ringside. And like you said, Dave, it brought me right back to my childhood and all my heroes I grew up watching. And my love for wrestling, it came back like 100-fold over the past 4 or 5 years. And especially after living in Charlotte and having the accessibility to all the different conventions that were going on around here, I started meeting a lot of the guys that I grew up watching, like Ronnie Garvin and Nikita and Magnum and Flair. And I mean, it's a laundry list at this point, you know, which is awesome. So yeah, it's been an adventure.
Those are all great names too. And like I know Brutus, Ronnie Garvin had that WWF run. I mean, he was Hands of Stone. That was another good one. I like Ronnie Garvin.
He was also Miss Atlanta Lively. I mean,
I forgot about that.
I love that angle. I love that angle.
Yeah, well, we knew about Ronnie Garvin was the Hands of Stone, and then getting the belt and everything, and then of course when rugged Ronnie Garvin appeared, fighting Greg Valentine as well there.
Yeah.
And you know, the Freebirds had their 2-week run in the WWF in 1984, and you mentioned Buzz Sawyer earlier. He had about a 1-week run at the time, and then of course we know when all the coaching. I think you know, they got there and got smart and got out very quickly. Because charisma can only take you so far in a big organization as you're seeing now. I wanted to ask your sets, Matthew, how big is your work area to set this up? Because the camera doesn't give away the tricks.
Let me see if we could get a view on it there, maybe. Sorry, I'm trying to level it out here as much as I can. It's a decent size. It's probably I'm trying to think how wide the arena piece is on it. Maybe a yardstick long, 36 inches, maybe 40, 44, 45, somewhere around there.
And do you leave them set up for an extended period of time, or is it?
Yeah,
once you've done the
Yeah.
I mean, I love your Bruiser Brody behind you. And we were talking when we were doing our audio video check earlier. I asked you about that, and it seems like you got it, or your wife got it from a friend of the show, the Brothers Gador. I was like, I know that Bruiser Brody. I've seen him somewhere. And, you know, what are your thoughts on those? I mean, see, you have two, I think you have 2 of them. I mean, do you have any more of that, or is that those are the only 2 that you have?
Those are the only 2 I have. Yeah. Mine's more of a room thing, you know, like I don't have enough room to have like a collection of wrestling buddies. I would love to, but you got to store them all, you know.
They're pretty big things. I like we get different guys on, and often in the backgrounds there's actually the work from someone else who's been on. It's this community, and I've said that with the brothers. You know, it sort of just goes round in circles. No one's going to get out of this because someone gets this from them, and they get it from them, and they get it from them. So it's good to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love your NWA title behind you. I mean, that's a classic. I mean, Tyler, don't you? I mean, I just think of, you know, Ric Flair back in the 80s, Harley Race. I mean, all those guys. I mean, with that title, I mean, it's just, when they switched from that title to the big gold belt, I was just disappointed and sad. I mean, what were your thoughts, Matthew, about, I know when they first debuted that on TBS, I was just like, I'm a fan of that old looking belt.
Yeah, I never loved the big gold belt. But I got to say, over the past few years, I've kind of grown to respect it a lot more than what I think I probably should have in the beginning. But the Dome Globe's like iconic. You can't get anything better
for sure
than that design.
I mean, it's still being used today with the current NWA with Nick Aldis. I mean, he's still the champion. I mean, he takes that belt across the country. I mean, it's one of those iconic belts. I mean, did they ever bring that belt to Australia, Brutus? I mean, did Ric Flair, any of the old school NWA champions ever make their way to Australia? Did you ever see any of them in person?
No, there was when the WWF put out, there was a couple of independent tours, but they were mainly guys who left the WWF, Junkyard Dog and others, and in the 90s, I don't know. I don't think Ric Flair did come out here. I'm not sure. He might have. Other guys might know that one, but it's sort of it's peaks and waves, and by the time they get down here, they seem to have missed the wave often. So if they came down faster, I know you can't just pull up and go down faster, but it's sort of like it's up and down, and it's driven by TV, or it used to be. Now it's pay TV. So but look, even as I said earlier, even just based on the magazines, the NWA or even World Class could have come down to Australia in '85 and '86 and sold out. It would not have been an issue, even into '87. Especially if someone like the Road Warriors, happen to be on a card, or the Freebirds. The Australian fans like heels as well too. They like underdogs and they like heels. So
yeah. That's great.
That would have been historic. I wish they could have, Bruce, because that would have been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and Tyler, I mean, I know. Sorry to interrupt. I know you're like I said in the introduction, you're the journalist here on the program. I mean, I know you have many other questions you want to ask Matthew. I mean, on this. I mean, this amazing collection and customs that he's got.
Yeah, well, it's not even so much a question. Speaking of AWA, that logo banner behind you, I was going to ask you, I know you've got some rings. Have you ever recreated kind of those Nick Bockwinkel feuds, with Hogan, and there's a who's who of like who he's faced? That really made me, remind me of the great wrestlers in AWA.
Yeah, that would be a fun one to go to recreate. So I think my buddy does print a Nick Bockwinkel. He's got a 3D head scan that I could get from him. Yeah, that would be a really interesting one to do. And I've got a ton of Hogan's.
Yeah, I love Nick Bockwinkel. Yeah, because to me, he was like Flair. He was a great worker, and he made everybody better around him. He sold for you.
There was something about him that I just never got it as a kid. Mm-hmm. I never had that connection with him, so I was always like, get him out of here. And I never really liked him, But as I've gotten older and went back and watched his work and interviews, and I just love his arrogance and his big vocabulary, and he was just above everybody, like it was cool.
Yeah. He epitomized that heel. You're right, because he acted like he was better than you. Then you had Bobby the Brain Heenan there, Brutus.
Oh my God,
that made a great name. Gene. They already had the chemistry even pre WWF.
Yeah,
when they made the jump to Vince. So it was awesome.
I had to do a fair bit of research, leading into the book and to get the timing of the jumps over right and all that sort of stuff. But yeah. I mean, AWA, you could almost say, was a feeding ground for the WWF, essentially.
Yeah.
We'll grow them over there, and then we buy them, essentially.
Poached them. He poached all the good talent.
That's right.
Yeah, Vince did
everywhere
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like what Tony Khan is doing right now. I mean, he's poaching everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see who comes next. But that leads me to my next question. Is there anybody like current, like WWF or WWE or AEW or like Ring of Honor that you would like to do? I mean, that doesn't have a figure? Because I mean, AEW has their new figure line. I mean, what are your thoughts on that figure line? And also, is there anybody current that you would love to?
I have to admit, I bought my first set of AEW figures today. I was at Target looking for some Legend series that's out right now. I'm looking for Big John Studd. Which I didn't end up ordering on a Mercari. I got a good deal on it. But I picked up a Santana and Ortiz tag team because I eventually want to get the Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus 2-pack. They come like Jungle Boy's on his shoulders, on Luchasaurus' shoulders. And I'm like, well, they're going to need somebody to battle it out with. So that's how I justified it.
Go ahead and book the creative, because that's what I love about your work. Where we've all talked about it, just the scenes. I mean, you're recreating that history and that nostalgia, and I see you doing it with modern wrestling, with AEW.
And I gotta say, you're asking me about modern guys I'd like to recreate. There's a new guy. He's been around for a long time, but I recently, I'd say in the past few weeks, I got more into him, as Danhausen. He's in a Ring of Honor, and he does kind of like a throwback vaudeville meets Dracula kind of vibe with a little bit of Conan O'Brien sprinkled in there.
Yeah, he's quite the mixture. I have seen some things about him. Look him up, Brutus, if you haven't.
And he can wrestle too. He can wrestle.
Oh yeah,
look him up. I'm still dealing with Luchasaurus. I mean, I'm trying to picture.
Luchasaurus, my bad. Yeah, I'm going.
It's kind of like a dinosaur human. It's Jungle Boy. He's a great wrestler. I mean, his
like
dad was
Tarzan-esque.
And I know this is, you probably didn't watch this show growing up because, well, it's probably a lot later in life. Beverly Hills 90210. His father was Luke Perry of Beverly Hills 90210. So he got into wrestling. So he's actually not bad. I mean, he's a shorter, smaller wrestler. But got to ask a question. So we're talking about LJNs on most of the shows. The LJN Cody Rhodes that they came out with. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, have you seen it? I mean, is this something you would want?
I have no desire to get one. If they do more legends in that series, I'd probably be more apt to get some of those. Whether they did Arn and Tully or somebody, I'd be all over that.
Yeah, I mean, Brutus, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, you're the guy that put together the LJN Bible, as I call it. I mean, they're trying to recreate and put newer wrestlers as LJNs. I mean, they have Cody Rhodes as an LJN. I mean, I haven't seen it in person. I mean, what are your thoughts on them trying to recreate something that was amazing back in its day, but I mean, probably may not fit in with current wrestling and people collecting figures?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I've seen a lot of hate online and some guys liking it, but one of the LJN style belongs in the past, really. So when you do it on a contemporary guy and it's only one who's the brains behind the organization as well, it's sort of like it's a bit stilted. I got the Young Bucks, of course. I won't even get that box down because I don't know. It looks like pulled spaghetti or something like that. It's just not very attractive. I'm with Matthew. If they had some of the legends and then you put the contemporary guys with them, then you're
them in. Yeah,
you're starting something new, like a new legacy. But if you're using the old style for the new guys, you're just really trying to capture a few of the old collectors. And maybe as it expands, it will bring in some of the older guys. I mean, is it correct Jake Roberts is doing a fair amount of work for them, or
he is? Yeah,
Jake Roberts is an AW. Lance Archer, right?
Yeah. So but he still he's still got a deal with the WWE though with his merchandise.
Oh, he does. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing, the licensing deals, and Jake would be a very big seller of merchandise as well, so he wouldn't want to ruin that. I don't know, maybe if there was if they came out with a David Fine figure, perhaps it would be a good thing.
There you go.
I mean, maybe I can get one of the great customers like Tom Vega, putting a 3D head of me. I mean, he could maybe do a Tyler Peters. I mean, and as a figurine. I mean, or a Precious Moments. I mean, it's
we had a Tyler Peters we almost had a Tyler Peters buddy from the Brothers. There was that guy who
Yeah.
looked like.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Like him. But that reminds me of a question I was going to ask Matthew. Like in true Alfred Hitchcock fashion, do you ever sneak yourself into those crowds? Because I like how you're looking over the shoulder of the cameraman and the other people.
I've never even thought of that.
Are you in a crowd somewhere as well? Or?
I've never even thought about that. Yeah.
Right.
That'd be cool to do.
I mean, yeah, he used to do that all the time. I mean, it's, that would be amazing. But, before we get out of here tonight, I always like to go around the table and ask everyone your current projects, what you're doing, now. Start with Tyler. I mean, what have you got on the board? I mean, I know you're doing another, 6 podcasts. I mean, and you're writing for a couple websites. I mean, what are you doing currently, besides, this show?
Well, along with this great show with you gentlemen, I'm getting to write for a few websites and for an independent promotion, Matthew, that Coastal Championship Wrestling. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make the show this weekend in Nashville. They'll be close, but it's in my area. But they'll still have a great show. Going to have Davey Richards from MLW, Brian Cage from AEW in the main event. So getting a little cross promotion, and just that's pretty much it. Other than podcasting, just doing a lot of writing, trying to get better. I never claimed to be a writer, but just trying to improve. I really don't. I mean, it's funny. I prefer contributor, to be honest with you. I do, yeah.
I mean, you contribute a lot and you do a great job.
Yeah,
Brutus, I mean, I know you have a lot on your plate. I mean, how's the second LJN book? I know you're talking about putting, doing research and doing all that. How's that working? Or you've kind of put that on pause for right now?
Well, first off, David, it's always bad following Tyler after hearing Tyler's current resume of what you're doing. It's like that. I've just been doing my own work. It's been nice and quiet. I've hardly been online. 4 weeks of just not constant writing and updating because my other books are extremely time sensitive, and they're going well. Here's a couple of the old, they're big bloody heavy things.
Textbooks, God.
Yeah. But that's what earns a living. The wrestling book, book 2 will happen, and it's well in planning and production. But it's I've actually been enjoying not doing it at the moment.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we should. I mean, I'm going to probably have a current textbook podcast. That'd probably, just.
Hey, that's an idea.
I mean, if anybody's, watching us and they, in school, hey, maybe you want to get a custom figure of your favorite teacher. I mean, or you can hit yourself with a book.
You could do that, recreate that scene, Matthew. Hey, let's do it. Brutus hit himself with a book.
Now he's hitting it with Greenville's book. I mean, speaking of that, how is Greenville's book doing?
Everything's gone quiet. There's been hardly any sales of any of the wrestling books over the last few weeks, and part of that is, as Matthew would know, like if you're not noisy online, within about 48 hours, you disappear. And I'm not a big online guy, but I need to do it to talk things up. So when Grenville gets a chance, and he's got a lot of things going on in life at the moment, when he gets online, we get some sales. And but we're getting near 2/3 of the print run through. I've only got 12 boxes left here. They'll go. It'd just be nice for them to go a bit faster.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, you're currently in lockdown. I mean, is it harder to get things out, or does it take a little longer? I mean, if someone ordered one, is it going to take a little longer?
Actually, last year that was a problem, but this year they've got some change rules around distribution, and the Post Network increased its staff significantly because with our lockdowns, we're getting. It seems some packages are getting to the US within 2 weeks now, which is unbelievably fast. So that's amazing. So post office is still open. I'm allowed to go to the post office, so I get the orders out every day.
I mean, well, that's good. Yeah. I mean, you can't do anything else, but you can go to the post office. But Matthew, I mean, is there anything that you're working on that you want to, kind of just say, hey, hey, everybody, go to my Instagram page. I mean, is there anything that they should look forward to seeing maybe in the next couple of weeks, couple of months?
I'm going to be doing I'm going to do Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. I'm going to do like a redo. I got some bodies that I'm going to use some different ones than the ones they came with. So that's going to be kind of like just a personal kind of thing for me to do. I don't know. So the ones they have on Mattel, their bodies are so thin and it doesn't look anything like them. So I'm going to try a different route with that. So.
That's definitely amazing. And folks, I always hate to see an episode come to an end, especially when we have a great guest on like Matthew Simmons. I mean, he is so a great line of figures that he's put together. Go to Mid-Atlantic Customs on Instagram. I mean, is there any other place besides Instagram that you post stuff or that people can see your great work?
I do have Facebook. It's Mid-Atlantic Customs on Facebook, but pretty much everything I post on Instagram is going to carry over to Facebook anyway. So you're going to get a lot of the similar content.
Folks, it's one of those things when I discovered Mid-Atlantic Customs, I was just like clicking and just like clicking on the picture and just looking at it and just being amazed. So everyone go over to Mid-Atlantic Customs on Instagram. I mean, you'll be totally amazed. So for the great Matthew Simmons.
Sorry to talk over you, David. I just wanted to say with Matthew's work, when I look at it, I can actually hear it. And that's
right on.
I mean, it's
I appreciate that.
Almost hear the entrance music. You can almost hear the sound crowd. And
if
guys
awesome.
like Tyler and David and the way you talk, Matthew, if you were doing some voiceovers on it, that might take things to a whole new level. But that's probably not what it's about. So it's really works on so many dimensions. So congratulations.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a great observation.
Yeah, I think we do know two people here on the podcast that do voiceovers, but we could definitely lend our voice. I mean, at least Tyler Peters could, but
no, you too.
But as always, for the great Tyler Peters, Brutus Valentine, and our very, very special guest, Matthew Simmons from Mid-Atlantic Customs. I am the Pod Daddy, David Fine. We'll see you back here next week where we will talk to the people at Figure Kingdom. It's going to be an amazing show. Nice. We'll talk to you next week.
I'll check